Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Celeste Demps-Simons.
When I was 5, I stood in my mother's bathroom as she combed the knots out of my hair, and I thought aloud, I'm so lucky that I'm white. I had seen the token Black children on cartoons like Hey Arnold and Recess. I noticed how they were stereotyped, and I noticed that they didn't look like me. But I did notice that they looked like some of my family members. To my surprise, my mother smacked me over the head with the comb and said, "Oh no, you're Black. And if a gunman ever comes into the classroom and tells all the N-words to stand up, you better stand up." My mother always made sure I knew I was Black. My mother is Black, my father is white. I was born in Norway. When I was 7, in 2007, when Barack Obama was running for election, my mother noted that if he was elected, it would probably only be because he was half. And when he was elected, my mother whooped and hollered and said, "My brother." And I wondered what that meant for me. Did I have to become president in order to be really considered as Black? When I was 9, my grandfather took me to the American Girl doll store to pick a Just Like Me doll. But when I reached for the doll with pale skin and red hair like me, my mother said, "Oh no, we're not bringing that lily white doll into my house." And she picked up the dark skinned doll with brown hair and said, "Here, sweetie, doesn't this look more like you?" I didn't really see the resemblance, but not wanting to hurt my mother's feelings, I agreed and we went on our way. That Christmas, she apologized to me and gave me the doll I had originally wanted. It took me a long time to realize what had happened and longer to not take the experience so personally. Growing up, I went to predominantly white schools. In 2nd grade, a girl in my class made a racist joke and laughed about it. But when I called her out on it, she said, "Oh, you're joking, right?" And I said, "No, I'm Black." And she just looked at me funny. I quickly realized that a lot of my classmates had an idea of how to treat white people and an idea of how to treat Black people. But because I was in the middle, they didn't really know what to do with me. My high school was a bit more progressive, but no less ignorant. My junior year, I was sitting in class waiting for it to start, and a boy I knew walked by, saw me, stopped, and said, "Oh, hey, Celeste, I saw the movie Get Out yesterday, and I want to say he started to realize he didn't really know why he was telling me this, and so he finished it with, and I remembered racism." I didn't really know what remembering racism meant, but with my experiences in elementary school, middle school, I took the stance that as long as someone was trying, I would give kudos. And so I smiled and gave a thumbs up, and he went on his way happily. The experience that changed my perspective on this was later that year when we were studying Maya Angelou in English class. These 2 boys were giving their present what I thought to be an accurate interpretation of Maya Angelou's Sepia fashion show, a poem reminding Black people that wearing high fashion won't make white people consider them as equals. But apparently, a friend of mine had her doubts because the entire presentation, she looked at me and would give a happy face or a sad face based off of whether or not she thought I thought it was racist. At the time, the experience made me feel really uncomfortable because I thought, oh, am I not catching something? Am I slacking? But after a while, I realized that her act was just an insecure and an ingenuine way of getting points from her token Black friend. But for all of my discomfort with those who'd clumsily navigated their privilege through me, I realized I am not any more graceful. I often overcompensate for being the whitest Black person in the room. I'll bring up the fact that I'm Black to another Black person who didn't ask, or I'll only yield to Black jaywalkers. When I was applying for colleges, my mother suggested that I apply to Spelman, not as an actual offer, but just as a nod to HBCUs. I refused because I didn't think that HBCUs were for me. I didn't have to think about whether a professor was going to treat me as a second-class student just because of the color of my skin. And my mother just said, okay, and let it be. This past year, a club that I'm in for minority students offered Black students an opportunity to go to LA to meet higher ups at places like Universal. I didn't apply because I thought that going would be taking advantage of an opportunity meant for those who didn't already have a more equal playing field. A friend of mine who did go called my decision colorism. My mother said that I should have gone, and had I gone and actually benefited from it, I could have brought up people along with me. I'm still navigating how to address my complicity in racism positively. This past May, in the aftermath of George Floyd's death, during the protests, I noticed a lot of my white peers were posting on social media about their outrage and were saying things like, "We need to give Black people the mic." I asked my mom about what she thought about this, and she said, I don't need them to give me the mic. I need them to get out of the way when I reach for it and maybe just shut up. I also told her about how I noticed that a lot of my Black peers weren't really posting a whole lot about it. She said the same thing had happened when she was around my age. A lot of Black community said, no, we have our own community, we have our own schools, and we don't need you anyway. I thought about how many schools I applied to that peddled their so-called diversity. And then I thought about how many Black peers of mine only applied to HBCUs. And then I thought about what was I supposed to do in the middle. And so I created the I've Seen It Project, a social media-based project that encourages white people to speak up about times they've either witnessed or perpetrated racism themselves. Black people have talked about their experience for years and have not been heard. I've seen white people talk about wanting to be a part of the solution, and that's wonderful, but right now we need accountability. We need to be the change we want to see in the world. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, such a wonderful story. And isn't it instructive, the kind of time that it takes up to negotiate race through everything that we do?
Hey, Satori, this is Jacob Walker. Great show, as always. I want to hear more about Celeste. You talked about your project. I want to hear a little bit more about it. Where can I find more information about it?
Oh, yes. It's, I don't know if I mentioned in my story, it's a social media-based project. So it is on Instagram and Twitter and also Facebook. For Instagram, it's I've Seen It Project, just one word. That's the handle for it. And then the Twitter is I've Seen It Proj, just PROJ. But yeah, I saw sort of like a need for like I said, I saw a lot of African Americans, we've always, given our story, but I didn't see a whole lot of white people talking about their story. There was always two sides to a story, and the other side needed to be shared. And so each post is its own story. Chris Danner was one of those stories. He was one of the first ones. I'm still always looking for submissions. I originally I originally kind of consider it to be a project for white people to contribute to and contribute their stories to. But I've been always considered like, yes, that's exactly it. There we go. Yes. I've also considered like bringing in other people to sort of contribute their stories, and all the people from other ethnicities and backgrounds to contribute their stories of experiences they've had. It's submission based. You can email it. There should be an email link in there for at least the Instagram page. I know is set up for that. Or you direct message your story. And yeah, so tell your friends and, tell them, hey, I know you've seen something. Everybody's seen something. Because it's meant to sort of dispel the notion of, oh, not in my neighborhood. I've seen that. Oh, it's over, and that doesn't really happen around here, so it's not a problem. Like, I mean, if you really think about it, you can probably think of something that's happened, and everybody I know definitely can think of something. So yeah, tell your friends, please.
Yes. I do see Carolyn Demps in the house. Can you turn on your mic? This is Celeste's mom, and is that your dad? Is that your dad too?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for bringing Celeste to us, and Carolyn, thank you for coming to the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers. She comes all the time when we were.
Yes, that's true.
Thank you for being with us virtually.
Thank you for doing them. They're wonderful entertainment. I've always enjoyed myself so much. I was so excited for Celeste to be a part of it.
Yeah, she was a valuable, valuable contribution. Such an unusual story, but she represents so many, many, many people like her that we don't hear these stories from, and the struggle and the identity issues and all of that. So we thank you. And we thank you, sir. Sir, are you Mr. Demps or Mr. Simons?
I'm Mr. Simons.
Mr. Simons, okay. I know you were more than just her citizenship. You're a loving dad too.
Right.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Anybody just have a burning desire to say anything before we thank the storytellers and Michon and anybody with a burning?
I just want to say, Hugo Simons, you've seen your sister, now go to bed. Russell,
3 a.m.
he's tuning in from Brussels and it's time to go to bed.
3 a.m.
How old is Hugo? How old is Hugo?
I am 25 in about a week.
25, go to bed.
He's in Brussels right now.
Oh, he
so
is. So what time is it?
What time? Yeah.
About 3 in the
It's
morning?
about 3 a.m.
Okay.
Wow. All right.
Well, maybe he's getting ready to go to the club, so I don't know.
The clubs aren't open.
Well, thank you, Hugo, for staying up so late.
Of course. Thank you for the program. It was excellent.
Good, good.
I really enjoyed it.
Good.
Thank you for
Thank
coming,
all.
Hugo.
My thanks to everyone here,
We're
especially.
proud of your sister, eh?
Absolutely.
All right,
Thank you,
cutie pie.
But,
Oh,
thank you.
darn,
everyone.
did you-